what makes the right stuff so right is that it always comes home. Now, that's a quote from NASA. Now, they might be based in the USA, and even though Formula One is an international sport, it's very much UK based. And what makes Formula One so right is that it always comes home. And the home is where the first ever Formula One race kicked off, and kicked off an amazing 69 years of F1. And that, of course, is the British Grand Prix. We are heading into this weekend. Welcome, guys, to round 10. We are finally in double digits now. Really in the thick, almost halfway through the season. And we are at basically where dreams are made, where Formula One drivers, Formula One legends have driven an amazing spectacle to watch the British Grand Prix. And to make things even better is myself and Jordan are going to the event. It's going to be absolutely incredible, and we can't wait to basically bring you everything that we're doing so far this weekend. And yeah, it's going to be insane. So obviously, guys, welcome to the F1 Debate Show. My name's Lyle. If you joined us for the first time, you picked an amazing race to join us with. We are so excited to go to the British Grand Prix. Now, it shared a few tracks in the past, alongside Donington Park in the Midlands, Brands Hatch, which is just outside London, and of course E-Prix circuit, all the way back before Formula One was even called a sport. Now obviously turned into a race course outside of Liverpool. But the big track, the one that everyone knows, the iconic, and basically the headline for the British Grand Prix, is the Silverstone circuit, and that's where we'll be this weekend. Now, it found its home around 1987 after doing some in and out in Formula One, and it really is a great circuit. Renovated in 2011 to include an incredible 18 corners and really big stress on the drivers around a disused RAF airfield used in World War II. It's a great spectacle to see. Great grandstands, amazing atmosphere. The fan think it's about 170,000 people this place can pack in. It really is a big spectacle to watch. All the drivers love coming here. Most of the teams are actually based here, so of course they love coming here. It's like a home race for them. There is 3 main British drivers we're going to be talking about in this episode. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris of McLaren, and George Russell of Williams. Also, we'll be talking about Alexander Albon, a driver from Thailand, but grew up in the UK. So again, he's quite British as well. We have a lot of British teams. Milton Keynes based Red Bull. Even though they're from Austria, they are based here. Mercedes, even though they're based in Germany, they are based here in Brackley. Also, the big one is Racing Point. Now, Lawrence Stroll, you might think it's a Canadian team because of him, but no. Even when it was Force India, even though they have India in the title, they were based in Silverstone, just across the road, actually. Me and Jordan went there a few years ago. It's absolutely insane. Guys, I'm so excited to be going here. As I say, this is the British Grand Prix preview. We'll be giving you our predictions and, yes, kicking off an incredible weekend. Now, some facts about the circuit here today. The circuit length is 5.891 kilometres. A great test for the drivers. As I say, 18 corners. Some really great corners to see. In the dry, you can take the first corner of Abbey flat out. That's where we were sitting in 2016. And also Maggots and Beckett. A right, left, right, located just coming out between Sector 2 and Sector 3, just before you go onto the back hanger straight. An amazing spectacle, known around the world by motorsport fans as one of the best few corners you can see, basically in, as I say, modern day motorsport to this day. 52 laps are ahead of the drivers on Sunday to make a great race, and a circuit distance of 306 kilometres. A real great stretch on the drivers, around 110 minutes of racing. And whoever will win will be the victor of the 2019 British Grand Prix. A crown, a title that everyone wants to get, not just for the drivers, but the constructors as well. And as I say, not just Formula 1, but Formula 2, Formula 3, and of course the Porsche races, the support races that they do throughout the weekend. This is going to be an absolutely insane weekend. Of course, we've been to all the tracks in the world, me and Jordan, and you guys will have been all around the world. We love seeing your tweets from where you've been in the world. We've been to Monza. Yes, I've been to Spain. I've been to Monaco, but nowhere compares to the British Grand Prix. Anyway, now that that's all out of the way with, guys, I'm very, very excited, as you can probably see from how the tempo's going in this episode. Really, really great. After round 9, after Verstappen's win, Formula 1 has really turned around. It's incredible to see. After France, it was like, oh, what's F1 doing now? And really, that was all chucked back in everyone's face because of what happened in Austria. It wasn't just Verstappen winning. It wasn't just the youngest 1-2 on a podium on the start grid. and obviously the battle, the overtake going into the corner where Hamilton and Rosberg collided in 2014, but it was everything else, really made it juicy, and yes, we couldn't have a better even start to the British Grand Prix weekend in round 10 of the 2019 campaign. After Austria, it was absolutely incredible to watch. Without further ado, before we jump in our predictions, let's go through the table after round 9 in Austria. Lewis Hamilton sits as the championship leader with Mercedes on 197 points. A disappointing race in Austria, but nevertheless going for the charge. He's heading into his home race really happy with his form, going for another win to make a tally of 8. Second place is Valtteri Bottas, his teammate, on 166 points. Third place is the Austrian Grand Prix winner Max Verstappen. He separates the Mercedes from the Ferrari and gets in on the action. Podium places with 126 points. Fourth place is Sebastian Vettel with 123, close to Verstappen. He'll be annoyed that he couldn't do much in Austria. He sat out qualifying 3 with engine problems. Fifth place is Charles Leclerc, the Monegascan, on 105 points. Sixth place is Pierre Gasly, the second of the Red Bull Honda drivers, with 43 points. A big gap between Charles and Pierre. Seventh place is British McLaren driver Carlos Sainz of Spain. He sits on 30 points with his teammate Lando Norris on 22 in 8th place. Hopefully Lando can make a good race driving for a British team and a driver of British origins himself. 9th place is Kimi Raikkonen as with Alfa Romeo, 1 point behind the McLaren with 21 points. 10th place, rounding off the top 10, is the honey badger of Daniel Ricciardo. He sits with 16 points. 11th place is Nico Hülkenberg with 16 points. 12th place, Kevin Magnussen, with the first of the Haas doing a better job than he started the season with 14 points. 13th place is Checo Perez with a racing point. As I say, a racing point, it's a home race for them. Hopefully he can do something here, 1 point behind Kevin Magnussen. 14th position is Danny Kvyat with Scuderia Toro Rosso Honda with 10 points. 15th place is his teammate, trailing him by 3 points, it's Alex Albon with 7 points. 16th place is Lance Stroll driving for Racing Point with 6. 17th place is Roman Grosjean with 2 points. Giovinazzi gets on the board with 1 point for Alfa Romeo, and the 2 non-scoring drivers, George Russell and Robert Kubica. Now, George Russell, the British driver, is yet to score points in Formula 1. Williams yet to have any points on the board. A British team from Oxfordshire, George Russell, a British driver. They will hope to hopefully make some improvement in that in Silverstone, but if they couldn't do that in 9 rounds, I don't think they'll get it in the 10th. Really unfortunate for them, but we will be talking about George Russell in a better light as well later on in the episode, so please stay tuned for that. Without further ado, I'm going to be jumping into my predictions and then head off to John for his predictions for the British Grand Prix. Now, it's an incredible circuit to watch. Lewis Hamilton is really out in force. He has won many years. He started out in 2008, then he won 2014, 2015, 2016 and 2017. 2018 he was halted by Sebastian Vettel, but Lewis Hamilton is already the leading winner at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, so he can only extend his lead onto there. He also gets an amazing atmosphere, so it's going to be good for him. Maybe you have Hamilton written in the stars, but he'll definitely be making a push. In my opinion, he has some tracks that he loves, including Canada, and including Budapest, the Hungaroring, which is coming up in 2 races' time. But nothing compares to Silverstone. So you might be thinking I'm going to put Lewis first, but you'll have to wait to see what I say. So in third place, I'm going to kick this off and say that in third place is going to be the Monegasque driver of Charles Leclerc. Now, he is really showing off Sebastian Vettel at the moment. 2 pole positions, really incredible for him. Bahrain, great pole position from him. In Austria, he storms to the front, halts Mercedes. As I said before, especially after France, when we thought Mercedes domination was going to continue into 2055. Really, really incredible for him. He did some amazing work in practice. Qualifying was incredible, and we were lined up on the race. He was on pole position. Very young driver. I think he was the youngest Ferrari pole sitter after Bahrain. He just extended and added his name to that. Really, again, as I said, showing up Sebastian Vettel. He had Lewis Hamilton alongside him before the penalty, and then he became Max Verstappen, the youngest 1-2 on the grid in Formula 1 history. So that was set to be a big battle, as John said in the review of Austria. Great start from Charles, great race from him, showing some great pace. He was beaten by Verstappen, who looked like he just wanted it more. That was the only thing, but still the Ferrari was looking very, very strong throughout the weekend. Really great, and as I said, he really had the hold over Sebastian Vettel, his teammate. Last year in 2018, the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel was incredibly strong. I do believe that he will get a good solid podium here, but Charles Leclerc should be challenging for higher finishes. As I said, for his part, he has had 2 pole positions and 0 wins. It's not great for him. When I think of Charles Leclerc, I always keep thinking of Monaco, when he was plumb last at around lap 10, then retired, and I watched him walk over the bridge with his head held low, and you just had to feel for him. Very much so, because that was the road he took to school. But yes, it was really heartbreaking for Charles Leclerc. So a 3rd place from him, which I think will be good, and it will cement a double podium for the Ferraris, as I'm going to put Sebastian Vettel, the German Weltmeister, in 2nd place. Now, a great win by him in Silverstone last year. Really, really strong from him. That was the last win that he actually did. Now, I was there to watch that race, only the race. Qualifying was great from him. It was looking like Lewis Hamilton was dominating. I think he won most of the practice sessions. Sebastian came in, snatched it up from him. Obviously, the problem with Lewis getting clipped by Kimi was unfortunate, but nevertheless, a good race by Seb in one of the hottest British Grand Prix that there ever has been. On track and also in the air. And we were getting very close to winning the World Cup, so that was, yes, very, very good from that. So yes, I do think a 2nd place will be good from him. Ferrari as a constructor definitely needed. Of course, there's no point in saying that they're going to catch Mercedes, because fortunately they're not. And also going back to the drivers, he is 3 points behind Verstappen. He will definitely want to close that gap. He can't let a Red Bull get in the way. He will want to be there if Ferrari are still their 2nd best team. And of course, in 1st place, I'm going to be going for the Polish driver of Robert Kubica. No, I'm not, I'm joking. I'm going to be going for the British driver of Lewis Hamilton. Now, was it you couldn't have thought I'd be seeing anybody else. It could have been Bottas, or it could be. It's definitely not going to be Daniel Ricciardo, no offence. But Lewis Hamilton, he is already the most successful driver at Silverstone. The crowd absolutely love him. And I was watching the Austrian Grand Prix, and of course Max Verstappen brings the orange army out in force. I've got an orange cap, I show a bit of orange, but the Dutch love Max and they love Formula 1. And he brings them about 800 miles from the Netherlands to Spielberg. But the UK and Britain love Lewis Hamilton, and you can deny till the cows come home, and you can try and support another driver when you go there, but when you go to Silverstone, everywhere is covered. It's red, white and blue. It's Lewis. It's Mercedes. If you find a Jensen fan, good on you. If you find a Lando fan for this year, good on you. And there will be some diehard Williams and McLaren fans. And I know one guy, my co-host. But Lewis Hamilton is loved completely by the British fans. And I love seeing that. I really, really do. At some point, you kind of have to leave your mind and say, I get that. I get why you're doing well, and I really appreciate that. Mercedes have had the best start ever to a Formula 1 career ever. They went 8 rounds where they won, and the 9th round in Austria where it's a blip for them. But hopefully they'll be hoping to rectify that from their side anyways, because they don't think Formula 1's boring. But yes, Lewis Hamilton is loved by the British fans. He loves that place. Of course, that admiration will help him. And yes, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Of course, Lewis Hamilton is going to get that. He'll want to make up for the 2 years. As I said, Sebastian Vettel, he didn't win last year, which was really annoying for him. Lewis was very pumped up about last year. He will want to rectify that, especially the problem that he had as well, getting clipped by Kimi. Climbing through the grid was incredible to see from him. I think it was 2nd place he finished last year, which was incredible. We gave him Driver of the Day, which he definitely deserved. But yes, Lewis Hamilton is going to have a storm of a weekend. I could even see him dominating all the sessions, getting pole position, winning the race, definitely showing that everyone, that Austria, for him, was a blip. It really was. And he was beaten. The Mercedes were beaten in Austria. Definitely. Lewis Hamilton wasn't on pole position. The penalty was, yes, a bit of a hindrance for him, but he wasn't on pole position. He was well and truly beaten. The Ferraris were better. But he'll want to show everyone that both Mercedes and himself they had a bit of a blip in Austria, and he is still here to fight and just to just dominate the British Grand Prix, to dominate his home where everybody loves him, and he's already in the history books. He can just extend that run. It's going to be insane. Lewis Mania, if he wins, I think this is probably the race that me and John will be looking at each other and going, if Lewis wins, it's like amazing. And to be honest, a part of me would actually like him to win. I don't support Lewis, but but I'm like him. We're a fan because obviously we're British. But if he won today, if he won on Sunday, I'd be like, that's amazing. That well done. So yes, that's my predictions. Leclerc in third place, Sebastian Vettel in second place, and of course the winner Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas, not going to say where he's going to go. Max Verstappen, not going to say where he's going to go. Pierre Gasly, not going to say where he's going to go. Not really anybody else. I hope we see a great race. I hope we see some big battles. But the one thing that I kind of want to see now is some of the midfield guys who haven't really had a chance to come through get there. And I'm talking about the two racing points of Checo and Lance Stroll. I'm talking about the Haas drivers of Roman Grosjean especially and Kevin Magnussen. I really want a shake-up. I really want these drivers to start excelling. And the big team for me, which, you know, the big team, it's Jordan's team, the British team, is McLaren. I want them to really, really show everybody that, like, this is their home race. They're going to take this bull by the horns and not the Red Bull. The Silverstone Bull, the Red Bull, the British Grand Prix Bull. Anyway, yeah, guys, that's my predictions as well. It's going to be an absolutely stormy race. Let's pass over to Jordan and see what his predictions are for round 10 in Silverstone.
So my top three for the 2019 British Grand Prix. Now, we were treated to an utter, amazing race last time out in Austria, didn't we? I mean, what a shock. It was a shock, don't get me wrong. It was a massive shock to have such a boring Grand Prix to then end up having probably one of the best Grand Prix, not of the season, but probably in the V6 era, like I stated in the review. You know, it was such a brilliant Grand Prix from start to finish. I do hope that we get something like that at Silverstone. Yes, we are going. So excited for that. So let's hope that there is something similar to what we saw in Austria. Who knows? Formula One, it just can throw up some amazing surprises, so unexpectedly, like we saw last weekend. So for me, my third place. Now, as like I always say, third place is very tricky to kind of predict, because it's so tight in between, like the back end of the top three, if you like, even in the midfield as well. But out of the top three, there is certain drivers that you realistically won't be on the podium. One in particular, my third place driver for the British Grand Prix is going to be Valtteri Bottas. Now, Bottas got a P3 last time out in Austria. Actually finished ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who finished 5th in that Grand Prix. Had a dreadful Grand Prix last time out, and Valtteri Bottas actually managed to be able to go ahead of his teammate and to be able to close the gap to Lewis Hamilton in the standings. So Bottas is coming off of a very good Grand Prix last time out. So he will be wanting to kick on again because he is in like revival mode, if you like, because he started off the season so well and then dipped off form a bit, and now he's trying to claw back what he lost in the last 2 or 3 Grand Prix. So what a better place to do it than at Lewis Hamilton's home Grand Prix. So for me, Bottas definitely does need a podium. P2 would definitely be good. But I've got a funny feeling that this next driver in my P2 might actually be the surprise of the weekend. And that P2 driver is going to be Sebastian Vettel. Now, Vettel did miss out on the podium last time out in Austria because of a dreadful qualifying. If you remember last time out, it didn't go well for him. Teammate did so well. And Vettel never really had a good chance of being, having a sniff of the podium or race, if you like. Well, in some sections of the Grand Prix anyway. But I think this weekend, I think it will pay dividends of Vettel's performances so far this season, and I think that he is going to show some good promise this weekend. Again, this is only predictions, but he won this Grand Prix in 2018 in a car that was so quick and so good. And for me, the car is very quick. And for me, Silverstone is a very quick circuit. So I think put 2 and 2 together, I think you might have a really good, combination of both man and machine. Even Leclerc could have a good chance of that podium. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's so tight. But I think Leclerc might just miss out on this occasion. Who knows? I could be proven wrong. I hope he gets his win. I hope he wins the Grand Prix. I'm just going to give away my win there. But anyways, I hope he wins the Grand Prix because obviously it would be nice to be there to see Charles Leclerc's first win. But anyways, Sebastian Vettel. So yeah, Vettel again. A bit like Bottas. He needs to revitalise his season. Yes, he more or less is guaranteed to be out of the Drivers' World Championship running. His performances have been so far decent, kind of decent. Maybe I don't know. What could have been. I think that's pretty much what this season's going to be about. What could have been. I think the Ferrari will return to pace. I would say in the second half of the season. I think I've got a funny feeling that Ferrari will get the act together when it's too late, and I think they'll start winning races. Probably Belgium, Monza, perhaps Singapore. Who knows? Tracks where the Mercedes isn't really that strong, and Vettel has won in the past. So who knows? Them tracks could be the target for Ferrari. They could be looking either next year's car, or they could be confident that after the summer break that the car will be good. But I think Ferrari should be in for a good weekend this time out, and I'm going to go with Sebastian Vettel in P2. And of course, one driver left. Well, two drivers left, you could say, because the last time out, he surprised us all. And I think this weekend, he could surprise us again. But again, this is just predictions. I don't know. So for me, my P1 is going to be Lewis Hamilton. Now, if Lewis Hamilton wins this Grand Prix, I believe he becomes the most successful driver at Silverstone. Either that's all time or British. I'm not too sure about that one. Because I believe Jimmy Clark's won 5 Grand Prix at Britain, and so has Lewis Hamilton. And if he wins this time, it'll be 6. And I believe he'll become the most successful driver at Silverstone, which will be a brilliant achievement, by the way. And for me, there's only one guy who can win, and that for me is Lewis Hamilton. The car last time out did struggle in the temperatures, in the heat. Mercedes was saying how they try to open the car as much as they can to get the cool air in. The car was struggling. It was just not on pace all weekend. Or at FP1, it looked all right. But then from then on in, Mercedes was nowhere. And we were like, come qualifying, they'll be okay. Nothing in qualifying, and nothing in the race. But I think that was just the one-off. I think this time out, the weather, I don't think, even if it is hot, it won't be as hot as what it has been in France and Austria. So therefore, the Mercedes car will be back to normal temperatures. In the cooling conditions, the Mercedes will excel. But not only that, the home support will cheer on Lewis Hamilton. And of course he's going to do well. Of course he's got a good chance of winning that Grand Prix. So for me, Lewis Hamilton, my favourite to win the Grand Prix, in my opinion. So yes, that's my top 3. Valtteri Bottas, Sebastian Vettel, and of course, Lewis Hamilton. Any other driver could go on that podium in the top 3. Max Verstappen, what a drive last time out. Watch out for him and Charles Leclerc. Those two were my ones to watch last time out in the last rounds. And obviously, look how well they did. So obviously, congratulations to them. So looking forward to see how they do as well. So I think Leclerc could have a chance at the podium. Should one of them drivers slip or fail? Same with Max Verstappen. I think he could end up on the podium. I could see Leclerc on the podium. But I'm just going to give my top 3 a bit of a mixture one there. Valtteri Bottas, Sebastian Vettel, and of course Lewis Hamilton.
There are some great predictions there. I mean, yes, it's really, really juicy. Midfield can do whatever they want. And the podium, it's always great to talk about. But of course, we don't think anybody's going to win other than Lewis Hamilton. He really has it in the bag. So yes, of course, Lewis Hamilton is the winner from 2008. He won in that McLaren the McLaren car, his second year, and of course his championship winning year. Now he was in contention in 2007. 2008 really was written in the stars for him, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of saw the admiration from Lewis Hamilton in a great race in that year. The rainy race, and the one where it was the old-style circuit as well, with the National Pit Straight being the main straight. A very difficult circuit, I would even say, as hard or even harder as it is now. A really great race from him. Of course, in the V6 era in Mercedes in 2014, he dominated that race, including 2015 and 2016, and of course 2017, where he broke the record. I think it was held by Michael Schumacher originally, to become the most successful winner around the British Grand Prix circuit. And I believe he has 7 at the moment, going for 8, which will be this weekend. Really, really great from him. Some great race we've seen. As I say, me and Jordan were there in 2016 to see his race. Now, you might not think it was the best race. It was a safety car start. There wasn't much positions being changed. Newly Red Bull promoted Max Verstappen got a penalty, I believe, so he was kicked from 2nd to 3rd, I believe, and then it was just a Mercedes 1-2. It might not have been the most entertaining race, but we thought it was, obviously, because we were there. And yes, it was absolutely incredible to see. Lewis Hamilton is really, really in the history books. I think 2017 was the year he did his crowd surfing as well. He'll definitely be wanting to do that again, and of course make up for the last year's race 2018, where the very hot race, England were heading into the semi-finals. We played, actually on the qualifying day, we played Sweden in the quarterfinals, beat them 2-0. So we were all British, we were all hyped up. It was an amazing day, and of course he couldn't deliver. He couldn't deliver in qualifying, and of course the very unfortunate problem where he collided with Kimi Räikkönen and ended up at the back of the grid I think it was heading into turn 3 in Village, where actually me and Jordan are actually going to be. So we don't hope we see Lewis spin off, but yes, a spin off or two might be good to see. Yes, he will definitely be heading into this race. Very, very excited by him. Now, he's always said that he becomes very philosophical heading into the British Grand Prix. He turns off his phone. This is the race, of course, where he gets all of the hype, where he gets the most media attention. If there isn't a race that he doesn't get media attention, probably Austria and the Netherlands next year, but turns off his phone, he becomes very, very focused, and he can only see the British Grand. He can only see Silverstone and hopefully the checkered flag in the corner, which I think is a great mindset to have. Mercedes, as I say, absolutely dominant in the constructors. They've almost won it now, and Lewis Hamilton running into the distance, almost 30 points ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Valtteri can still catch him, but Lewis is definitely running away with it. 3 points from 200, and I think he will get it, and he will dominate this weekend. Now, the second British driver we're going to be talking about today is Lando Norris of McLaren. Incredible drive from him, 19 years old, younger than me and Jordan. It's absolutely insane. There's probably people that are still at school in that age. And I'm going to pass it over to McLaren's number one fan to tell you about Lando Norris. Take it away, John.
My boy, Lando Norris. Can't wait to see how he does this weekend. Solid job last time out in Austria. Solid qualifying, even better in the Grand Prix. Battling Lewis Hamilton at one stage for P3. I mean, that was a shock to the system, wasn't it? To say the least. And of course, actually today, as I'm recording this, about an hour ago, McLaren announced that their driver lineups for 2020. So therefore, Lando Norris is secure for another year alongside Carlos Sainz. So, what better way to come into his home Grand Prix for the first time as a Formula 1 driver to be secured for 2020? So therefore, that pressure of will he be there next season, all that malarkey is now gone. It's done. It's dusted. So you just relax for the rest of the season. Focus on next season. Hopefully come back a stronger driver. Because this year, for me, Lando Norris has been absolutely brilliant. Rookie of the Year? Absolutely. For me, Rookie of the Year, definitely. But anything could change from now until Abu Dhabi. He could slip a form. Another rookie could come in, take his place. But at this moment in time, for our end of year awards, he's going to win Rookie of the Year. Lando Norris has been so impressive, this season. McLaren on the rise. So for me, without a doubt, it would have been my one to watch anyway. But for me, definitely want to watch Lando Norris. Let's see how he does in the McLaren in front of his home fans, because I will definitely 110% be cheering him on. And of course, Carlos Sainz, but more Lando Norris. Don't tell Carlos that anyway.
George Russell is another debutant in Formula 1. Now, he was Formula 2 World Champion of last year, 2018. A great battle from him. Now, there was a few Formula 2 drivers that were promoted, mainly British, as I said. So, Lando Norris of course, Britain, promoted to the McLaren team alongside Carlos Sainz. George Russell, who was promoted as the newly crowned champion alongside Polish driver Robert Kubica to drive for the Oxfordshire-based Williams team, and of course Alexander Albon, the driver from Thailand, but grew up in the UK, so very much a British guy. Now, George Russell, as I said, has not had a great start to his Formula 1 career. No points on the board, alongside his teammate with no points, sitting in 19th position, and Williams sitting at the bottom of the Constructors' Championship in 10th place. Now, it's not a great start from him, but of course, it is the car and the team. As a driver, he is very, very strong, showing that from his last year's result and his season in Formula 2. Now, last year, he got pole position in both the sprint race and the feature race. He was beaten, unfortunately, to the wins by Alexander Albon of Thailand and Max Günther of Germany, the two main competitors that he had last year in Formula 2. But a great race, a great journey from him. Again, he'll be generating some support. Williams fans, the die-hard Williams fans out there, will love it when British drivers get into the programme. They've been lacking that in the last few years. But now they have a British driver that they can get behind. It's full Union Jacks for, as I said, Williams and, of course, George Russell. So he will definitely have some big fans heading into this race. But, yes, unfortunately, British driver at the front, British driver at the back. And yes, with Williams, we can't really say where they're going to be. On the Formula 1 game, they might be in the top 10. They are in mine. I don't know what's going on. But unfortunately here, they are at the back. It's really, really unfortunate to see. You will probably see those two white cars at the back of the field. But George Russell, head held high still. He's doing a good job in that car, getting some good positions. I think the highest he finished was 16th place a few races ago. After the penalties in Austria, they started, I think it was 15th and 16th, so it was pretty good from them. But yes, unfortunately, there's not much to say about George Russell other than, unfortunately, he has to kind of bite his tongue and be with Williams, unfortunately, at the back. Now, last year's race with Lance Stroll and Sergei Sorokin, again, I knew that they started at the back. They had an abysmal race. Lance Stroll said in the podium, in the press comments that he's got to hold his head high. Both him and Sergio have to, and just do the best that he can. So George, of course, he is doing the best job that he can. He is ahead of Robert Kubica. He finishes really above him. I think in the teammate challenge for the race and qualifying, he is beating Robert Kubica. So that is good. But yes, with the Williams car, unfortunately, it's not up to speed. So he will just have to sit back and do the best that he can in that Williams car.
Now, Albon, he's been doing good this season, hasn't he? In that Toro Rosso. So good that he's even linked with the Red Bull seat for next season, possibly after the summer break. Helmut Marko's kind of hushed them claims, but the media won't, shy away from those headlines. We will have our say, kind of, maybe in the F1 debate show this week. I don't know what's happening with the debate show. We've got a plan, but it might not happen. So we'll see. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. But anyways, Alexander Albon, he's been doing good, but I think he needs to improve in some areas, especially in qualifying. I think is it 9-1 or 8-1 to Kvyat in qualifying, and is it 7-3 in the 7-2 in the race, or 6-3 in the race? I know Kvyat is ahead. I'm not too sure on that one, but Albon does need to not so much improve. I think he's doing well, but I think he could do more, and I think that if Toro Rosso do want to push up the grid a bit more, I think Albon needs to kind of kind of push that car to its limit, make those kind of aggressive moves that his teammates doing as well, because his teammate is doing pretty well. Not excellent stuff, but for me, Daniel Kvyat is having a very good season. So is Alexander Albon in his first season as Formula One, as a Formula One driver, and his first time driving a Formula One car, funny enough. So he is doing pretty well. Now, we all underestimated him in our predictions that we did at the start of the year, all the way back in January, because me, Lyle, and Alex Afro all predicted him to be bottom of the standings. And we know that's not going to be the case, is it? So yeah, he has had a good year, but he needs to kind of level his playing field with Daniel Kvyat if he wants to make some sort of progress. Because if he's still well down on his teammates the next couple of years, whether his seat is there or not in a couple of years, because there's a couple of drivers that could potentially take up that seat if he does not be on par with his teammate. But we know how strict Red Bull is, so let's hope that's not the case. But Alexander Albon is definitely going to have, hopefully, a good weekend in front of his kind of home crowd, if you like. But let's see how it goes anyway. So yes, my ones to watch: Lando Norris and Daniel Kvyat. Let's see how they do this weekend. But anyways, that's my segment done. Let's hand back over to Lyle for the rest of the preview.
Now, they were the British drivers we've just talked about now, so this time we're going to mention some honourable kind of mentions that we want to look out for the British Grand Prix. Now, the one I want to mention, it might not be considered a British team, haven't been on the podium yet, so we don't know what national anthem they're going to play, but that is Racing Point Mercedes. Now, as I've just said before, that their base is actually opposite the track at Silverstone. Me and John actually did go a few years ago, which we thought was an amazing thing to do. We did a tour of the ex-Force India garage, but now it will be Racing Point. Most likely things will have stayed the same. So they use Silverstone before practice, and it is very much a home race for them. Well, really, they can walk to the garage. It's the homeliest of the home for Racing Point. Now, we really hope that they have a really good race. Now, they probably aren't going to think that this is going to be such a high-flying British team like Williams are or McLaren are, but we do hope that they have a good race. Now Sergio Perez is currently sit in 13th position in the World Championship, with Lance Stroll strolling behind almost in 16th position. So Sergio, of course, has the lead on his Canadian teammate, doing a good job, making a few breaks into the top 10, but mainly just finishing in the main field. A few minor retirements and a few minor problems this year, and they will definitely want to kind of rectify that for the British Grand Prix. As I said, it's a home race for them. Nico Hülkenberg driving for the Force India in the last few years, had some good finishes here. I think Checo Perez, I think it was 2016, had a good finish here. He was broken in to the top 10. As I say, we were there to witness that. So it's hoping that it will be a good race for them. Checo Perez did race for McLaren, the British team, in 2013. And though the car wasn't there, he did get in the top 10. And again, he will be loved by the British fans. It's a bit like Fernando Alonso and Ferrari. as soon as you drive for Ferrari, you are cemented there. Even if it was 1 or 2 years, Fernando, only 4 years for him, no world championships, just a few minor races. But like when me and Jordan went to Italy, you did see the Fernando fans that were left behind. So that is really great to see. Yes, so Racing Point, we do hoping the best for them. They're using the Mercedes engine, which was built in the UK, so should be very good for them. They are still a British team. They are kind of British at heart. Two drivers that are very skilled around the wheel. As I say, Lance Stroll doing a not as good job as Sergio Perez, his teammate, but hoping that he can get there. They both have points on the board, and let's go for the Racing Point. Let's hopefully get in the top 10 for them. And the last driver I want to mention, a kind of an honourable mention, is Kimi Raikkonen of Alfa Romeo. Now, I am very, very impressed by Kimi Raikkonen. Now, last year when he was driving for Ferrari, I wasn't the biggest Kimi fan. I'm not a Kimi fan, but I wasn't as supportive as Kimi before. I was saying that his second stint at Ferrari had been there for 5 years, and he only had one win, which came very, very late on. It was actually 115 races since his previous win, which was at the 2013 Australian Grand Prix Albert Park, to the 2018 US Grand Prix victory in Austin. So that big margin was kind of like is Kimi the right person to have in Ferrari? But now that he's made the transition from to Alfa Romeo, doing a switch with Charles Leclerc, who has taken a seat at Ferrari for this season, Kimi is doing a great job. Now, he currently sits in 9th position, ahead of Daniel Ricciardo at the Renault and some big hitters in the Formula 1 Championship. Now, I think Kimi is doing a great job in that car. Last year wasn't a race for him to remember. He did clip Lewis Hamilton on lap 1 going into turn 3, which probably not many people were Kimi fans after that, but a good race from him. He has done well around the British Grand Prix Silverstone circuit before. He has an ex-winner with Ferrari, so he will be going quite strong. He's been going quite strong. 2 weeks ago in Austria, good finish from him. He has got in the top 10 quite a few times. As I say, Britain in that top 10 in the World Championship standings, so he should be a good driver to watch this race. A very iconic white and red car. And yes, I do think that he is going to have a very good race. So they're my guys to watch out for. The two Racing Point, I'm hoping that they will have a good race. Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo doing a great job. Obviously beating his teammate Antonio Giovinazzi of Italy, but nevertheless, the Italian doing a very good job in that car. We mentioned the 4 British drivers, so good luck to everyone who's doing that. Godspeed. And it's going to be absolutely amazing to watch. So yes, it will be incredible to be there. The home of Formula 1 racing. The first one was back in 1950. That was won by Giuseppe Farina. He was the world champion of 1950. And did anyone ever think that, what is it now, about 1,007 races? I think this is going to be the 1,007th race or something like that. And 1,006 races ago was the first race in Formula 1. It's absolutely incredible. Around no other than Silverstone circuit, the place that we're actually going to be at, the place that Formula 1 is going to touch down into and make it the 70th race around Silverstone. It's going to be absolutely incredible. The 70th race at the British Grand Prix. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Most of the teams are based here. 4 British drivers or 3 home British drivers, and obviously Alex Albon if you want to count him. It's going to be incredible, so make sure you stay tuned with all of our content that we're releasing, including the preview show, the F1 debate show, and of course our F1 debate show vlog, which will be coming out in the next few days after the Grand Prix. We're not sure when. Make sure you watch the race. I really hope you enjoy. If you are from the UK, Channel 4 are actually showing this race live, so you will actually be able to watch the race live instead of the highlights. Again, it'll be on all the other channels as always. A very big British event. I think it tied with Wimbledon as one of the most successful British events and highly watched in the year. So guys, that is the end of our preview show. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed what you've seen around here, please like and subscribe. We are on the way to some big big heights. The Austrian Grand Prix review, which came out after round 9, is currently sitting on 18,000 views. So thank you very much to everyone who's watched that. We get some great support, especially Dutch and Red Bull fans. So thank you very much for all of that. Please subscribe, really help us get to our goal. And of course, guys, until next time, and throughout the British Grand Prix weekend, we'll see you later.